one of the other interesting things is that he clearly Impact is doing a slow leak with some of these surprises, and he said that there's two really big surprises for Slammiversary. He knows who they are; they're big names, and he's really excited about it.
That was what he said. My imagination started kind of rumbling immediately when he said it, and I started trying to fill gaps in my head. So, if his whole job is to hype the show, I think he did a pretty good job of that because it's been in the back of my head for the last 24 hours or so.
All right, so we did this already once when the Fightful story came out that there was one wrestler currently under contract elsewhere that's going to appear, and that one former WWE wrestler that's going to appear. And you gave your picks. I don't think that you were that happy with your picks. So
No,
let's go. Let's do a mulligan now that we got some new information with Moose.
I want to reevaluate my picks. Yes.
I'm going to give you the first opportunity. My column is already in draft. I don't know if they're gonna edit it, so I'm going to go with exactly what I put into my column today, which will say. So I'm going to let you go first. I just want to know that if you have the same thing, I have documented record and of the edited date on my column of when I actually made my pick. So go ahead.
So this first choice is influenced by tonight's show, which I just finished watching, or last night's show, which I just finished watching. As we now know, Deonna Purrazzo has a mystery opponent. Coincidentally, they went to a Mickie James package immediately afterwards. You don't have to have a background in fiction writing to see the foreshadowing. So I'm going to go Mickie James.
And then what's your other big name surprise?
It's got to be Christian Cage, man. You sold me on that last week.
Christian Cage. Okay. Yeah. I'm glad you said that. I still think that Christian Cage is a possibility. I'm changing mine.
Oh, go for it. Let me hear.
Yeah. So I think we're both in agreement on the Mickie James thing. In fact, the line that you just said about them immediately going to the Mickie James package is almost verbatim what's in my column that I just submitted like 20 minutes ago. So
that is what happened. That is what happened on the show. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that anybody else would be a letdown at this point if it's not Mickie, other than if, people have this fantasy land that I think Tessa Blanchard's coming back. I think that if she did, that would be like a big name. I think she is a big name. There's Impact. Impact, she's their former world champion. It's a big deal to Impact, and a lot of Impact's fans don't give a shit about all that controversy. They just want her back. So
yeah, I have this thing. I don't think she's as big a name in like the wrestling sphere as people like to say she is. Like, we haven't had her in wrestling for well over a year, and realistically, does anybody care?
Unfortunately, I think there are a lot of people that watch Impact that do care. I mean, they were invested in that character. I personally, even though I was not a fan of her being the world champion, I was personally invested in that character. I thought she was fantastic.
Yeah, I wasn't watching at the time, so I'll tip my cap to you on that.
So I do know that Impact fans they do miss her. She's a great wrestler. If she's a pain in the ass to deal with behind the scenes, doesn't affect me. I'm not there. So, again, I don't think it's her. I think it's Mickie. So, but if it were her, that I don't think that would be a letdown to the Impact audience. I think there might be some faux outrage from the Twitterverse there with her.
I don't know how faux it would be, to be honest with you. I think it might be pretty legit. But continue.
Well, they did the same thing whenever the story first broke, and then when Impact had their pay-per-view right after all of the details came out about some of her behavior, you couldn't really tell in that arena that there was actually any scuttlebutt online.
Fair.
Right? So, and then she continued to stay over for the months following. So I think there would be a little bit of issues online, but the other one would be Ruby Riott, aka Ruby Soho. I don't know what her availability is. She's probably, I didn't think Aleister Black was available, and brother showed up on Dynamite. So who knows what her contract looks like?
Hell of a debut.
Yeah.
Ruby Riott, Ruby Soho. That'd be a real nice pickup for them, actually. Yeah. It'd be a real nice pickup.
Again, it's Mickie James, but
it's Mickie James, yes.
So anyway, that was my long-winded way of getting to who I am changing my pick to from Christian Cage. I'm going with Jay White. I really do think there's a possibility he's not scheduled on any of the upcoming Japan shows in July. He's scheduled for the New Japan Strong Resurgence show in August. He's actually not going to be wrestling in Japan until the G1 in September. He is available, and I have it on good authority that he is available and could be there. Like, physically he could be there. He has corresponded with Impact Management on Twitter, responded to some tweets. Scott Demore and Carl Anderson have been showing old photos of them in the Bullet Club and things like that. It's not that unusual for Carl Anderson to do that because that's kind of what his peak was. But
True.
for Scott Demore to be showing old pictures of him in Bullet Club gear and in Japan just out of nowhere and things like that. I think we're gonna have. I don't have any inside knowledge. I just know that Jay White's available. He could be at the show, and if he could be, you gotta get him on there. I think that we're gonna have some type of Bullet Club presence at Slammiversary.
Man, that'd be a huge coup for Impact if they got Jay White, because they keep trying to appeal to the hardcore set, and if you come out with the Switchblade, man, you're gonna get people talking on Twitter. So that'd be pretty big.
Honestly, I think that, and this is nothing against Christian Cage, I think that Jay White would, probably be the bigger surprise over Christian Cage at this point.
Absolutely. Especially because I think a lot of people assume Christian Cage with the release of the pin and whatnot. So maybe that's a nice little curveball, nice little distraction that they've thrown out there. Make Christian a couple extra bucks and tease an appearance that won't be there. Maybe. I don't know. You got my head moving on this Jay White thing. Here's my one counter to that. If you're gonna you could actually get more pay-per-view buys if you tell people Jay White is going to be on the show. So from a business practice wise, I don't know if that's the best idea for Impact, but I ain't running the company, so they don't got to listen to me.
Yeah, and Impact has a history of maybe not making the best business moves for their pay-per-view. So, has Callahan's in the main event. So,
for our biggest show of the year.
Yeah. So anyway, there's two quick headlines I just want to get to from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Dave Meltzer reported that, he didn't really report this. He's speculating that Chelsea Green's probably going to come in. I could see that. I don't think that that's a big deal, but I think that she could absolutely come in.
She could be the surprise too against Deanna, but
that would be a letdown.
I hope not. A huge letdown.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Impact here, so
Yeah, could be. He said that I guess Josh Alexander, he's in line for a big push. I think that you could watch TV and know that. I don't know that that's news. So, but that was in the Observer this week. Also, I actually started my column about 5 this morning before I read the Observer, and then I had to hit the road for the next 9 hours, and I got back, and I just was doing the finishing touches on the column before we started to record here. And in my column, I was talking about, last week I talked about Bound for Glory locations. It looks like they're going to be doing it outside of Nashville, and Las Vegas was one of those cities they were looking at. And in the Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer saying that they're actually looking at taping their TV show in Las Vegas later this year. So I think things are kind of lining up to where maybe they might be doing some business in Las Vegas, and most likely Bound for Glory, and then possibly even some tapings after that.
When's the last time they shot outside of Nashville?
It would have been the Atlanta tapings right before the pandemic hit. I would say February of 2020, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Center Stage?
No, a theater there, one of the theaters there. I think New Japan had played it like a couple months beforehand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the Coca-Cola Roxy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vegas is an interesting location because it's very similar in some aspects to when they were shooting in Orlando, because you're not going to get much of a hardcore fan base at all. What you're going to get is a lot of, travelers, casino travelers. So
it depends on where you film it at. So if you're filming it on the Strip, that's all tourists. That's a tourist trap. When they were filming at Sam's Town, no tourists come to Vegas and go to Sam's Town. It just doesn't happen.
Where is that? I've been to Vegas once.
Oh, okay. I lived there for 4 years.
Oh, okay. So tell me.
Oh yeah. It's about 10, 15 miles off of the Strip going out. It's on a Boulder Highway. It's a nice sized casino. I used to live pretty close to it, like 10 minutes away from it, and it's got a TGI Fridays and they have classic rock cover bands, and that's exactly where Impact and Ring of Honor would film their shows. So it's quite a ways away from the Strip. It's more of a local spot than anything, as opposed to a tourist spot. So it's not the cleanest venue, not the nicest place to be, not in the best neighborhood, but it's cheap. it's cheap. So
trade-off.
We're talking about Impact and Ring of Honor here. So they discounts are nice, I would say.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to check out more of our stuff, hit that subscribe button. We're adding more video podcasts to our rotation. If you want to hear more content from Fight Game Media, check out the Fight Game Media Network on Patreon. We have podcasts at least 5 days a week and often more, depending on which tier you choose. With Tier 1, you'll get pro wrestling podcasts for $2.99 a month. If you're an MMA or boxing fan, or just want even more pro wrestling audio content, check out our $7.99 a month tier. In that tier, you may even hear AEW rockstar Jon Moxley join us now and again. Also, check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Fight Game Media.